Welcome to another Indie Dev Showcase, highlighting the many developer-submitted games and demos we play on the channel. If you'd like to submit a game for a future piece, please get in touch. But we are starting things off with a demo that I played for 8-Bit Adventures 2. So this is a game that, as the title suggests, is a modern retro take on classic JRPG design. Right down to our little tiny figure at the bottom of the screen there fighting a giant monster. From a pixel art aesthetic standpoint, I think the game is really on point, and looking at some of the trailer footage and stuff on the store page really showed some great background environments and details. But this is one of those games that you will know pretty much in the last 10 seconds whether or not you have any interest in it at all. This is a game by JRPG fans for JRPG fans. If you do not like the classic style of RPG here, this game is not going to change your mind. But from playing the demo, there are going to be different characters, different abilities, etc., etc. And it definitely shows promise for fans. And I would say that if you are a fan of RPGs, JRPGs, etc., and you haven't checked out this series, definitely give a look. The first game is already out, and the second game I believe is due out either in 2022 or 2023 at this time. For our next game, this is B.ark. And this is a shmup style game. We played the whole thing of it on stream earlier in 2021. And our story is that a bunch of pets have to save humanity when we are being invaded by an evil empire. And that's going to be flying or piloting pet-related ships around the solar system, get information from Captain Salty over there, and pew-pew our way to freedom. So, this is a pretty standard shmup experience. Each pet has a different ability, and you can also play this, I believe, up to 4 players local co-op. I don't think it had direct online play. Each level has you fighting off against various kinds of animal-related threats, lots of fish-related enemies in this game as well, as you'll be able to shoot, dodge, and use your specials and unique abilities in order to make it through each stage. When you pick up crystals, it'll allow you to upgrade your gun, and which will change how it fires, damage, etc. All in all, this is one of those games that it was, I think, decent for multiplayer, but if you're hoping for something with the challenge of, say, an R-Type, a Zero Ranger, or any of the classic shmups or shoot-em-ups, this game is not going to be for you. But I would say this is a great game for the kids, and something you can kind of play over an afternoon or weekend with 4 people for some fun. For our next game, this is Omno, and this was developed according to the store page by a single developer, and this is a puzzle platformer style 3D game. We are on a magical journey through different realms, and we are going to be collecting various MacGuffins, gaining powers, and of course exploring. While the environment has kind of like a very basic geometrical kind of look to it, I really like the aesthetics of this game. It has a very clean look to it, and some pretty good variety in terms of the areas. The basic structure is that each zone or each level will have a series of puzzles and miscellaneous tasks that you can go for. When you complete a major task, you'll gain kind of like a MacGuffin item, and when you collect enough MacGuffin items, you'll be able to move on to the next area, as well as unlock usually some kind of new power. Be it something that lets you kind of, do snowboarding on your staff, hover, etc., etc. Now, with this kind of game, there is no need, or you will not be able to backtrack from area to area. So everything is very self-contained in that respect. And all in all, you can also learn about the various creatures, go on additional challenges, and again, this is something that if you've played any 3D platformer in the past 10-20 years, you should have a pretty good idea of how the structure is going to be. All in all, we played through this entire game, and I would say this is on the good side. If you're hoping again for something that kind of goes above and beyond, in terms of showing you something you've never seen before with 3D platforming, Omno is not going to do it. It is, I would say, on the moderate to moderately easy side. It can get a little confusing sometimes in the wider areas as to where you need to go and where all the items are. But again, this is nowhere near like brutal, difficult Kaizo games like that. I would say that if you are looking for a pretty solid and enjoyable 3D platformer that you can get through in like a day or so in a few days, definitely check this one out. This could be also a great kind of entry-level game for new fans of the genre. So with that, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have 3 more games to look at for our showcase. And as always, if you want to check out my thoughts on design, then here are my game design books. For entry-level students, we have 20 Essential Games to Study, and then the Game Design Deep Dive series that takes an extensive look at different genres, with free-to-play coming in 2022. For our next game, this is Poker Quest, and what we have here, I guess, is a deck-building poker-like that combines Slay the Spire with the act of playing poker. And while I'm sure a few of you have immediately tuned off from this game, it is surprisingly a solid concept. So how this one works is that you choose your class. Each class will have different starting weapons as well as abilities as well. The weapons and gear all proc off of specific cards. So if you want to play a certain weapon, it may need, as you see here, 2 straight cards, full house, flush, etc., etc. You can hold cards, I believe, and you can also re-roll your deck or re-roll your hand. Meanwhile, the enemy is doing the same thing. And some of the challenges of the game will be having cards or abilities that can mess with their hand, such as stopping them from playing a specific face card or color card, etc. And if you don't do that, things can get very bad for you very quickly. You use poker chips as your currency, as well as being able to upgrade your kind of character, such as affecting how much damage things will do, how many cards you'll get in your hands, your use of your special ability, things along those lines. As you play through the game, you'll also unlock additional characters with their own rule sets, abilities, and of course everything we know from the deck building roguelike kind of design. All in all, this is one of those games that, again, it may sound, I think, like a little bit of a meme or, who's really going to play this kind of game, but it's surprisingly, again, a very solid take on using poker as the basis for mixing strategies and stuff along those lines. If you do not like poker at all, or of course deck building roguelike design, then this game is again not going to turn you into a fan. But if you are looking for a different take on it, I would say at least give this one a check. Please keep in mind the footage you're seeing is taken from basically week 1 of its early access. It has been on EA for at least, I think, 6-7 months at this point, and what you see may not represent the current version of the game. For our next game, this is Clown in a House, and this is a kind of puzzle, horror, adventure kind of game. You play as well a clown in a house, and there's a lot of strange things going on, weird breaks in reality, things trying to murder you, and other not so nice things happening. And your job is, well, to explore. The game itself is kind of set up similar to that of some of the older adventure games that have like different endings or different ways you can die or fail. And part of the challenge of the game is to figure out all the many ways that things can go horribly wrong, weird, or worse for your clown. The general gameplay, again, this is going to be adventure style, so you're going to go collect various items, use them in all manner of places, and hope that you can figure out what is happening. Now, when you do get a death or failure state, that becomes kind of locked for your run, so you're not going to be caught doing the same things over and over again. And it was a very intriguing game. However, we ran into some major issues on stream with this title, including the fact that the game soft-locked, and I was unable to make any progress without completely resetting and erasing my save. And because of that, I did not go back to the game. Now, I don't know if things have been improved since, but it is unfortunately something to keep in mind with this one. For our last game of the showcase, we have Vesper. This is a 2D action-adventure game that bears very huge similarities to the design of Oddworld. You play as a mysterious character here who is trapped on a planet where everything is trying to kill us. But fortunately, as we explore, we find a mysterious gun that allows us to manipulate the world, control minds, and of course use that to solve puzzles and get out of danger. From an aesthetic standpoint, this game looks gorgeous, with some really striking visuals and backgrounds, as you can see. Now, with the gameplay, this is kind of the same style of Oddworld, in that each level is, quote-unquote open-ended, as you'll have to figure out what you need to move through each section, do them in a certain order, and of course look for secret collectibles and not get killed. My big issue that I have with this game is that, like Oddworld, it is very black and white in terms of the puzzles, and it's incredibly easy for someone to just kill you and reset the entire puzzle you're working on. Because of the open nature of the world, it's very easy to run the point of no return if you're trying to collect or see everything. And this is one of those games that, again, it kind of assumes that you are already a huge fan of the Oddworld design. If you did not like those kinds of games in terms of its puzzle design and even just the general movement and platforming, then Vesper is not going to work for you. Now, since we did play this one on stream, apparently there's a Zero Light edition. I don't know what that has changed, because we did play this one pretty much like opening week of its release. But if you are a fan of kind of puzzle adventure games, again, heavily the Oddworld inspiration, then I would at least give this one a check, at least for the visual style alone. But with that said, we're going to wrap up the showcase here. As always, if you're new, do the liking, subscribing, and commenting. You'll find links in the description to all the games down below. If you'd like me to play your game for a future stream, please get in touch. Otherwise, come back for daily discussions on game design here and on game wisdom, where some of the art and science of games. Until next time, take care.